Welcome to Normal Guy Games. We're reviewing Betrayal at House on the Hill this time. Make sure to like and subscribe. So I am a huge fan of the Betrayal at House on the Hill series. I've played, but I don't own the first edition. Eventually I may pick it up from eBay or whatnot. But I picked up the second edition. I picked up the expansion for the second edition. And I also picked up the Betrayal at Baldurs Gate. Now, as you can see here, there have been a couple of changes since the second edition. Namely, the characters have changed just a little bit, and they've kind of they've increased the saturation on the individual tiles for the house itself. Now, it still has the same familiar everything. The characters here seem to be a little bit higher quality than what we're used to. They of course are not the greatest quality minis that I've seen, but they're still in pretty good. They're pretty decent quality, especially considering the cost point of the game itself. Now, another thing that sucks is they stuck with the clips. I'm not sure why, because the upgrade kit for the second edition worked really well. So you get your normal setup. You have item cards, omen cards, and event cards. And also, you also get some new stuff. And part of the new stuff are these actually sort of replace how the haunt used to go. It shows you why your adventurers or wayward travelers, whatever they are in the house, and what scenarios will actually pertain to that particular to whatever scenario that they're in there for. You also get a new monster reference, and you get a traitor reference as well. Now, one thing that hasn't changed is you do get reference cards that assist you with gameplay. You get your player reference cards. Gives you a rundown of all the basics that you're going to need to play the game. Now, the tokens have received kind of an upgrade, in my opinion. They have sort of differentiated all of the different monsters from what they used to be. And all of the tokens, a lot of them have their own shape, which will assist in trying to dig through a crazy pile of tokens to get what you need when you're playing the game. And I think that is a very good addition. Additionally, the characters have received kind of an update in artwork, but the thing I don't like, and you'll see here, the cardboard is really flimsy in this edition. I mean, it bends and it twists, and it shouldn't slinky like that. I kind of feel like they may have cut some corners in cardboard to save money. And you can see here, well, you might not be able to see, but all of the tiles actually came with a slight bend in them. So depending on which sprue was where, they all have a slight bend in one way or another. Now, the one thing that hasn't changed is each card has two different people on them. And each of those people have their own little thing that they can do, their own little set of stats. And of course, you get your tracker. Now, the tracker only goes to 9 this time. The previous edition went to 12. So, I couldn't resist to put that in the box. So anyway, the rule book is laid out fairly well. It gives you a differentiation of the different important things by selecting different icons, including, as you can see here, it gives you a rundown of all the new rules, which is kind of a good thing. So we'll go over the new important changes. There are quite a few, but these are the sort of important ones that they lay out at the beginning of the rule book, and it's one of the first things that you'll see when you open the rule book. So you get your component explanations, you get your game setup guide. It gives you an overview of all the components and everything that you are going to need when you start playing. Once again, the clips. Why the clips? They could have done so much better. Anyway, and then it gives you the Before the Haunt stages. It tells you everything you're going to need to know, including, as you can see from the little icon there, any rules that have changed for each of these sections. And it gives you an overview of how to play after the haunt begins and everything. So, I mean, the rule book is very simple. It's not one of those games that requires a ridiculous amount of rules. And obviously, I'm not going to spoil the scenario, so we're not going over that. So to give kind of an idea here, so I've got the scenario rules are sort of similar to Betrayal at Baldurs Gate. Betrayal at Baldurs Gate, you roll 1 die for each omen. Now, second edition here, you roll 6 dice, and you have to roll above your amount of omens. So in this edition, you actually can get more. You can start the haunt sooner. And as you see there, pointing out that I do have the expansion, but this is what I'm talking about here. This upgrade pack was perfect because it just had little dials for your stats, and that works so much better than those stupid clips because they destroy your character sheets. And as you can see, that's the old style clip there. Now, for this edition, one thing I like, as you can see here, this is what the old token collection looks like, and it's an absolute mess. Trying to find anything in that stack of crazy was difficult. Now, these tiles, I don't know what is different about this cardboard because it looks about the same, about the same thickness, but this cardboard is a little harder. And as you can see, this is the second edition. The second edition actually came with pre-painted minis, which I thought was kind of neat. It was kind of a neat thing for me. But maybe I will probably go in and paint the minis for this edition too. But as you can see here, that's the they're not exactly high quality, but it was kind of a neat thing to not have to paint them. I don't know if that it helps with the immersion just a little bit, but not as much as you might think. But that's kind of a comparison of the components from the second edition here. But as you can see, the second edition with the Trader's Tome from the expansion actually adds quite a bit of everything to the box. You get more scenarios and everything else. So I'll probably still pull out second edition from time to time just because of how much content you get for it. Now, going over the more important changes they cover here. First off is what we already talked about with the scenario cards. Now, the scenario cards change the way the haunt works. The second is the haunt roll being different. It follows the Baldurs Gate method, which I went over earlier. That just means that you choose your scenario, and your haunt roll is actually 1 die for each omen you have, instead of being 6 dice and you roll over your omen. So you can't even start getting to the Trader stage, to the haunt, until you have 3 omens, and you would have to roll 2s on each omen. But I mean, that's kind of a good thing. That's a good change because you don't want to get the haunt too soon. So the haunt roll being different is kind of a big thing as opposed to the last edition. There are some new terms which are fairly simple to understand. You got your general damage, you got your heal, bury, critical, special edition, line of sight, that kind of stuff. There's no stealing allowed. That's another thing that's different. The turns end differently, so you automatically end your turn with when you hit a new tile, which I kind of thought that's how that worked anyway, but I'll have to compare that later. When the haunt begins, you actually have some flavor text that everybody reads, which that's kind of a good thing. It gives you sort of an open scenario. All actions are considered to be open information, which means that if you're doing something, the players can ask you to explain why you're doing it. Got that. Dead explorers leave corpses. So that's what those tokens are for. So your dead explorer will leave their stuff, and their token, their body will be in that particular, in that whatever tile that you died in. Because you can die even before the haunt. Now, there are some other changes and things like that. One of the bigger changes that I came across was the fact that the traitor can actually, someone can volunteer to be the traitor. So the person that rolls up the traitor as the traitor or the haunt does not necessarily have to be the haunt in this particular case, which is kind of an interesting change. I know this would probably playing sort of an evil character of any sort. Not everybody can pull that off. Not everybody is happy about that kind of a thing. So I mean that is something that is kind of new and different, and it could be fun because there's always that one person that wants to be the traitor, that that wants to be the person that is the evil guy. Most of the other changes are minor. There's nothing game changing in here. There's nothing game breaking. A lot of the other stuff here is just like small things, more to my eye rules clarifications than anything else, or rules that we had already been using. Like for instance, I've played quite a bit of Betrayal at House on the Hill, and there are some definite house rules that we have used before that have kind of shown up in here. One of the things is line of sight. Now, we always treated line of sight as a thing, because if you're walking through a bunch of rooms, you may not close all the doors. So line of sight has always been a thing for us, but it explains here that line of sight is a thing. Now, the anatomy of the haunt has actually changed quite a bit, and I like how they've laid everything out because it kind of gives you different colored boxes to explain what each of the haunts do, how they work, what each of the components are, and it gives you sort of a rundown of how everything works out in this edition. And of course, there is a variable player count. You can do 3, 4, 5, or 6. I have tried playing this with 2, and it just doesn't work. It does not work. They're right about it being 3 to 6. The more people that play this game, the better, quite honestly, in my opinion. Anyway, we already went over the dying. So if you die, you leave a corpse and all your items. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the changes to the new edition of the game are not all that crazy. And as you can see here, this is sort of the rulebook here. I kind of want to just go over a couple of pages, but it's nothing crazy. The old haunt roll was fine, but the new haunt roll can work too, because I've played quite a bit of Betrayal at Baldurs Gate as well. But as you can see, there's a lot more imagery in the new edition, which can help. So your haunt roll in the old edition there, as you can see, you roll on a big chart. So I think that having those cards might actually kind of be a good thing, because you can randomize which haunt you're going to choose from. Anyway, I'm a big fan of the game. I would say if you like any kind of games like Clue or whatnot, this is like a huge upgrade to Clue. So get it, pick it up, and thank you for watching.